This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to you all. So today we are going to discuss the concepts of classes and objects. So the slide on the screen is where we left in the previous lecture. So we discussed on this slide about classes that you can add methods to the class as well, and the method can have the return type also. So this is what we discussed in the previous class. So today we are going to discuss that we can add parameters to the methods as well. So in this screen I have shown over here the two methods. One is square. This is without parameter. We are not passing any parameter to the method. So this empty parenthesis indicates that the method is not receiving any value from the calling method, but it has one return type of integer. But the second method that is shown below it is receiving one integer type parameter, and it's also returning one integer value. So whenever you want to make a method that should receive some of the values from the calling method, then you should write the parameter within the parenthesis, and a number of parameters can be passed to the method, and the parameters can also be of different types. If you want to mention more than one parameter, then you should separate the parameters with commas. So the rule of mentioning a parameter is first you will write the data type and then the variable name, and after that you will put comma, and again the second for the second parameter you will follow the same rule, that is first you have to write the data type then the variable name. So this we will discuss in the coming slides as well in more detail. So this is the method that is receiving parameter. So the class is same that we discussed in the previous lecture as well, the box class. So but in this class we have two methods now. One method is finding the volume, it's returning double type value, and the second method is setDim. It's receiving three parameters of type double. So kindly note how we can mention the parameter. So here we have used three variables, all of type double. So these parameters are separated by commas as well, and this method is returning a void. It's returning again. Notice the name of the function. We are following the camel method as well. So for this method we are following notation. So first word, the first letter is small, and for the second word in the first letter is capital. This is what we discussed in the previous lectures. So here is the main rest of the part of this program. So one part of the program is shown we are calling the setDim method. So setDim method, when it will be called, we are passing three arguments to the method. So these are the arguments. The first, the arguments will be passed to the corresponding parameters of the method. So 10 will be passed to the first parameter w, and 20 and 15 will be passed to second and third parameter of the method set dim respectively. So when this will be called, so I repeat, whenever you want to call the method of a class, first you have to write the instance or the object name, then dot operator. After that you will put the method name, and if that method is parameterized, then you will pass the parameter values within the parenthesis. So these parameters will be passed to the corresponding parameters, this w, h, and d. So this will initialize width, height, and depth of the instance. As we discussed yesterday, within the class, if we are using the instance variables in a method, those instance variables basically refers to the instance variable of the calling object. So here the calling object is my box. So that means this method, width, height, and depth in this method, width, depth, and height represents to the box1 class, because box1 object. So I'm going to show it to you through a diagram. So this is our object, my box1. So I'm going to show it here. So it has three instance variable. So this method that I have shown over here, this will set the value of w to the first value 10. So this will become 10, and this will become 20, and the last value will become 15. And this object is basically this is my box one, right? This is similarly, and the second set when it will be called box two. This is your second object, and stands also the same instance variable width, height, and so we are asking to set them 3, 6, and 9. So these 6 values will be set to these 3, 6, and 9. Right. So when you will call it box, right? So and the width is height and depth will represent the my box 2 object. You are calling it with my box 1, and this width, height, and depth will represent the uh, set box 2 object. Next line we are calling the volume function. This is what we discussed yesterday. When it will be called, this method will be executed and it will return width, depth, and height. When it will return width, depth, and height, this width basically the depth, height of my box 1. So these three values will get multiplied and that will be returned to the left hand side variable. So this is what we discussed yesterday. I'm not going into more detail of it because this we discussed in the previous lecture. Then comes the method that can return array. So here the first important point is the syntax. If you, this is the method name sum1, and this method is returning array of integers. This is array of integer. So integer is the data type, and the scale bracket represents that it is an array. So how you will return the array when you will use the return statement? Basically, this statement is used to return the value to the calling function. So when this return will be used, will return x. Here x is the array that we have created over here with this line, right? And the next loop is basically it's incrementing the value of every element of the array by 1. So this will return x to its calling method. So this we have used here in this complete example. So what this example will do, this is what we are going to discuss. So I want to show this code to you. I'm going to show to you the execution of this program. So how it will run. So basically, let me select the pen. So here the very first line will create an array B with size 3. So this is your array B and its size is 3. So I'm going to draw it here. This is array with 3 elements. So first element is 10, second element's value is 20, and the third element value is 30. And the reference to this array is B. So this is our variable B. And next we have one variable A, reference variable, and its value is initially null. So I am going to represent it with the cross. So cross indicates that it's not initialized because we haven't allocated memory for the second array. So just this line will just create a reference variable as arrays. Then with the second loop, we are just printing the elements of B. So the important point to note over here is we are using one attribute length. So basically, if you use this attribute with any array name, this will give you the length of the array. So b dot length, because the size of the b is 3, so b dot length will return 3. So the rest of the loop is we are basically the acting through every and printing every element, because this refers to this single statement. So you will get these values. B is 10, B is 20, B is 30, right? Then the important function that we are calling over here is sum, right? So this is the sum method. So this right hand side will call the sum method. It's not having any parameter, so we are not passing any value to it. That's why. So when this right hand side will be executed, it will call this method and control will jump to this part. And here in this part we are creating one array x. So this is your array x, right? And this array has 3 elements. So again the elements are 10, and next element is 20, and the next element is 30. So these are the values of the 3 elements, and the reference to this array is x. So I'm writing x over here. Then the next loop will increment the value of every element by 1. So this will change to 11. So this value will change to 11. This value will change to 21, and this value will change to 31, right? So every element will be incremented by 1 to this. After the completion of this loop, the value of x will be returned back. So this will be returned back here, and this x will be assigned to A. So that means that if you assign this x to A, that means x will start referring to this object, right? So here is the array, and now the A will start referring to it. Because the scope of the x is limited to this sum method, so any array, any variable that you declare within the method, and then that variable or array vanishes uh, as soon as the execution of the method finishes. So when the control will be returned back to the main through this return statement, this sum function will complete its execution. So then this x variable, x array, x reference will cease to exist, but the a reference is there for this array. So when you will next, when this next loop will be executed, it will print the every element of the array A. Here this is wrong, it should be A. Now if you print the every element of A, you will get 11 as the first element, then 21, then 31. Right? So this loop will iterate through the array elements and it will print each and every element of the array. So this is how we return the array from the methods. One more important point to notice, these two methods are part of the same class. I haven't shown over here. Above is these two methods. You will include these two methods in a class. I'm showing it over here. So here there should be one class as we discussed yesterday. It can be, its name can be any. And the main important point is why we have attached this static to this sum method, because this main is static, main must be static, right? And if main is static, and in the coming lectures we will discuss that a static method of a class can access only the static members of the class. So if you want to call any method from the main, that method must be static, right? So we are calling sum here directly, and if you want to call it from main, this sum should be static, right? So that's why we have attached the static keyword here. I repeat, any static method of a class can access only the static members of the same class, right? So this is all about this program. The next slide is about a method that can receive array as an argument, as a parameter, and return array also. So here in this example we have used again a sum one method, and notice that its parameter is so either you can put it after integer as we discussed earlier, or after the array name. So both are valid. So but we are putting the brackets after x or after the array name, and this is the return type. Int scale brackets indicates that the sum function is returning array. This we have already discussed. Why we have made it static? Because we want to call it from the main, and if main is static, then it will only be able to access the other members if they are static. So the here we have created one array again. Array is B, and only the reference variable A. So the only difference from the previous problem is here we are calling the sum with B. So what will happen now? I'm going to show you that this is your array of 3 elements. Let me represent it diagrammatically. So 3 members are there. First member value is 10, second member value is 20, and the third member value is 30. So the reference to this is variable B, array B. So now we are calling this sum method with B. So B will be passed to this X. So the X will start referring to the same memory block. So this is the important point. When you pass array to the methods, the arrays are passed by reference. That means the actual parameter or actual arguments values are not copied. Basically, these are referenced in case of arrays. So X will refer to the same memory block that is of that the B is referring to. Now within when this will be called, first of all this b will be assigned to x. So this will happen as I have shown diagrammatically. Then the body of the loop will execute. When the body of the loop will execute, this will increment every element of the array x by 1. So this first element change from 10 to 11, the second will change to 21, and the third will change to 31. Right? So this is the case. So every element is being incremented through this loop. Then it will return x. So when this will return x to the main, so what will happen? This a will start referring to the same block. Now a is referring to the same block because the execution of this sum1 function has finished. So that means this x variable will now vanish, right? This x array reference to this main memory block, this will be unhooked, we can say, because the scope of this is just scope of x is limited to this sum method only. So when this will vanish but still the array is there, that means now a and b are referring to the same array. So with the next loop you can use either over here a of I or b of I to print the same array, right? If you use a of I, it will print 11, 21, and 31. If you use b of I, still it will print 11, 21, and 31 because these two are referring to the same memory block. So the important point is when you pass array to the methods, the arrays are passed by reference, right? And when you return the array from one method to the another, then the variable that is referring to it in the method will be unhooked. As in this case, this x will be unhooked from this memory block. So the next concept is about a special type of methods. So constructor is basically it's a method, a special type of method, and these methods are used to initialize the instance variables of the object. And the second important point about these methods or constructor is these are invoked at the time of object creation. So when you create the object using the new keyword, at that time these are invoked. And the most important point is these constructors are basically why these are called special type of method, because the constructor name is same as that of class name. So if your class name is box, then the constructor name will be box. So let's discuss it in more detail with the help of one example. So here we have used the box class again. So in this box we are using the same three instance variables, width, height, and depth. And in this class we have used some special method. Look at this. This is the method name. So method name is box. It is same as of class name box. So this is a special kind of method. That's calling it constructor. And the constructor shouldn't have any return type, not even void. That's why we haven't written anything before this method. Otherwise the normal methods in Java always should have some return type. It can be void or it can be integer or some other return type. But in case of constructor, we don't write any return type with this constructor name, right? And the constructors can be non-parameterized, as in this case the constructor is not having any parameter, and it can be parameterized. So this is a non-parameterized constructor. Sometimes the books use uh, this word non-parameterized constructor. So the next is there is a method volume. This we have discussed a lot, so I'm not going to discuss that. So this box class ends here. The rest part, the second class is shown on the right hand side. So in this class we are creating one object, new box, and when this object will be created with the new key, basically the constructor will be called. So here it will call the so uh, with the new, as we discussed yesterday, uh, parenthesis can be, or if parentheses are empty, in that case the non-parameterized constructor will be called. So this will be called. So here we are creating the new object with the new keyword, and this will be called. When this will be called, you will get this message on the screen, constructing box. And after that, after displaying this message, it will initialize, basically this is the object that will be created. This will initialize the newly created object attributes, that is width, height, and depth with the 10 each. So this is the case. After initializing these values, the control will return back to the main. So this left hand side variable will start referring to the newly created object. So this is your my box. So I'm going to show here that this is your my box, right? My box one. Then the second line will create the second object as we have shown over here. This again this will be created, and second time you will get the same message constructing box, and after that the second object instance will width, height, depth will be 10 10 sorry 10 10 and 10 is and stored by a variable that is my box 2. After that we are calling the volume function. When you will call this volume like height and depth, uh, it will multiply width, depth, and height of the second instance, that is my box 2. So you will get 1000 again, and that will get copied to volume, and both the volumes you will get 1000 each. So here is the next example. So in this case, we basically slide is based on the parameterized constructor. So in case of parameterized constructor, the constructor will have some parameters. So as in this case, there are three parameters or arguments of this constructor box, right? So coding we will discuss soon, but this constructor is doing. So from the right hand side here, from the main, we are creating the object of the box class. So keep in mind here with new, now we are not keeping the brackets empty. We have mentioned three values in it. So when you will mention some values, in that case the parameterized constructor will be called. Why we are passing three values from this box? Because our constructor is having three arguments, right? So when the right hand side will be executed, it will call the parameterized constructor or a constructor with three parameters. So these three values 10, 20 and 15 will be passed to the corresponding variables of the constructor. So this is 10, this actual value is 20 and the value of d is 15. After passing the values to the parameters of the constructor, the body of the constructor will be called. So this will initialize width, height and depth with these these three values. So these values will become 10, 20 and 15. After that, this is not returning anything, but this object reference will be assigned to the variable on the left hand side. So this variable will start referring to this, right? So I'm not going to discuss the rest of the part of this problem. The only important point is this line, because here we are calling the constructor, rest of the part is same. So whenever you want to call the parameterized constructor, you will write the new keyword, after that the class name, then within the parenthesis the number of the parameter that must be equal to what you have mentioned in the definition of the constructor. So because we have mentioned three parameters over here, that's why we are using three here. So if you don't write any values within this, in that case the non-parameterized constructor will be called, but we haven't used or implemented a non-parameterized constructor over here. So in that case, if the non-parameterized constructor is not there, in that case the Java will provide its own default constructor. So this we will discuss in more detail in the coming classes also, right? So if there is no constructor, default constructor or non-parameterized constructor that you have implemented in your class, in that case Java provides this default constructor, a non-parameterized constructor, and that constructor will assign some initial values to the instance variables of the object. So this is the another concept, new keyword. So new keyword is basically this new keyword is basically used to differentiate between the local parameters and the instance variable. So I'm going to show you that with the help of one example over here. This example is in case of this constructor. Over here we have used the parameter w, h and d. So in the previous example, as we discussed, we can directly assign w, h and d to width, height and depth. These width, height and depth are basically the instance variable, right, with which the this method or constructor is being called. But if you keep the variable name same as that of the instance variable, for example, in this case, this constructor box is having the local variable width, height, and depth. And instance variables are also width, height, and depth. So if the local variable of the constructor are same as that of the instance variable, in that case local variable hides the instance variable. So hides means that within this method, if you just use width like here, that width will refer to the local variable. So if you want to refer to the instance variable, you have to use this keyword. So this dot width, that means the width here, this width is the instance variable. It's the instance variable of the calling object because this refers to the calling object, right? So this is the case. For example, if I give you example of this with this, if this is suppose width instead of w, if this is width, height and depth, in that case we'll write over here this dot width, right? So this dot width will refer to the width of the calling constructor. If the constructor is being called with the mybox1, then this will refer to the mybox1. And if the constructor, this constructor is being called with the mybox2, then this will refer to, within the constructor it will refer to mybox2. So the next slide is about the garbage collection. So whenever you allocate the memory for the object using the new keyword, like unlike in other languages like in C or C++, the memory is deallocated explicitly using the delete keyword or using the free method. But in case of Java, you need not deallocate the memory explicitly. Java automatically handles the deallocation process, and for that Java has one daemon, or it has one module. Daemon is basically a special process that is always executing, and it executes sporadically after every fixed interval of time or after some random interval of time. So that garbage collector basically deallocates the memory of the objects that are not being referenced by any reference, right? So in that case garbage collector deallocates the memory automatically. So here we have one advantage in Java, that you need not worry about the deallocation of the memory that you allocated for the arrays or for the objects. Again, I will discuss with you about garbage collection in more detail in the coming classes as well. So the important point over here is this garbage collection is a process. It's a daemon that keep on executing, and when it finds that any object or any array is not being referred by the reference, then it deallocates that memory block. So here is one example on the class. So in this example, we are implementing the stack, and you know what stack is actually. So in order to remind you, I'm quickly explaining the things about the stack. So stack is basically a list. It is a last in first out list. So here we are implementing a stack of size 10. So this is the array that we are allocating memory over here. So this is another important point. In case of the Java, you can allocate the memory to the instance variables at the time of the declaration of the variables. So we are allocating the memory over here, right? So either you can allocate the memory when the constructor will be called, or within the constructor we can say, or we can allocate the memory directly when you are declaring the instance variable. So here in this case, we are declaring the instance variable or we are allocating the memory. And stack is always has a variable that is called top of stack to keep record of the top element of the stack. So this is the constructor, non-parameterized constructor. So this will initialize TOS top of the stack to -1, and this condition indicates that the stack is empty. As you know that in case of stack, the two operations are generally performed. One is called push, that is adding the elements to the stack, and another one is pop, that is removing the elements from the stack. So if you want to push some elements onto the stack, first of all you need to check whether the stack is full or not, because stack size is 10. So if the stack top is stop value is 9, that means it is already full. So in case of TOS is 9, we are displaying the message stack is full. If TOS is not 9, that means there is some space in the stack and the element can be added. So in that case, what we will do, we will increment the value of the top of stack variable by 1, and at the new place we will add the item that will be passed to this push method as a parameter. So the another method over here is pop. So when this will be called, it will check whether there is element there on the stack or not. If the top of the stack is less than 0, in that case the stack will be empty and it will print this message stack underflow. And if the stack top is greater than or equal to 0, it means that there there is some value on the stack, and what we will do, will return that value. So this is stck is the name of the array that we created over here. So it will return the top element of the stack, and after returning, the TOS value will be decremented by 1. So this is the class stack, and it has two methods, push and pop, and one constructor. So we'll call it with this class. Again, I'm going to quickly uh, explain these things. So this is basically creating a calling a constructor to create the stack class object, and when this object will be called, stack top will be initialized to -1, right? So we are creating two stacks over here. So with this loop, we are pushing the values of I 0 to 9 onto the stack. With this loop, we are pushing 10 to 19 on the second stack. And then we are removing the elements from the stack using these two loops, right? So these are just the call of the functions. So you are supposed to look into the detail of this, because this is a very easy concept. Just we are calling the push and the pop function from within the looping statements. So till now, if there